everyone, and welcome to Belonging Songs, your weekly podcast that brings you a brand new original song each week, then talks about the theme of that song and the processes that went into writing and recording it. And sometimes we bring you old songs like we're going to do today. Today with me, as always, my good friends Patrick Crane.
Someday I'm going to host this show. Someday.
And Mr. Brad Maurer.
I don't want to. I'm good right here.
And like I just said, we're going to listen to some older tracks from Brad today. His opera EP in its entirety.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah, no. It's called The Opera.
Yeah, so I was cleaning out some of my electronics to move them into the basement from the upstairs, and the original master demo for the opera was floating around my CD player, and I popped it in. I haven't listened to this in a really long time, and I was just struck by how much I really love this EP. I always have, but it'd been a really long time since I listened to it, and it still holds up.
I set out when I was doing it because I had I didn't want to make like a concept album, but I wanted to write a story through a series of songs, right? So seems like
a concept album.
Yeah, basically a concept album. But I didn't want to do a concept album, so
Right.
I wanted to figure out something to call it else.
The concept is we're releasing an EP on triple gatefold vinyl.
Right. So essentially,
one song
per
per
side.
record.
Yeah.
So the way I sold it to myself is I was going to write it as a soundtrack for a play or a movie or something. And
Or perhaps an opera.
or an opera. And so
Or
that's
an episode of Ballers. On
that's kind of
HBO.
where I
like
where
that
I
show.
started with it. And so each song is a particular point in time, like it's an act of the play.
Cool.
I did it to challenge myself and still be able to insert, what I do and how I write songs into that process. And it was a pretty fun exercise.
And these
I liked where
are
it came up.
your mixes too. And
Yes.
this is another case where
This
it was
is,
all lost.
These are
just MP3s.
not available
Yep.
to remix or do anything. Wade did some global,
Tried to clean
try
them
to
up.
save some clippage and things like that. But yeah, this is kind of as they came out, I thought they were the best they could sound. They probably were with the equipment I had and what I was doing. Everything was recorded on Pro Tools, but then, the computer took a dump and it's in the dump. So
Yeah, and we just had the MP3s of wherever point they were at when
Yep.
when the computer went down. And
well,
then
they were essentially done, and all of these songs when Wade and I played live in the Scout and Luns kind of era of our friendship, we played, I would say, 3 of these 5 songs.
Now we're gonna blast through this entire thing. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tracks.
It's 6 songs, but
Originally it was just 4.
yeah, with an interlude, which is in between, which is where there's a transition in the
Because
story.
we had the
Is
idea.
that what an interlude is?
yeah.
Well, we
I
had
just
the
wanted
idea.
to define that.
Those came later. That was like an afterthought. Like,
Yeah.
how can we really tie this together?
Yeah.
So we had the idea of that overture and the interlude, which I think
Yeah.
really
Yeah, Wade
is
really
great.
pushed me to do the overture, which is the first thing, obviously, we're going to listen to. And that was, he's like, you should write something that, exactly, ties everything together. And I'm like, I don't know what to do for that. So basically, I did a little bit of every, he demanded I give him results as he does presently. And,
But I
so
think it did tie the project
it does.
together.
So what I did is I detuned my guitar and I played everything in a different key and sort of played things a little bit differently, but it still is all parts of the original song.
Yeah. Let's
the
jump
songs
into
they
this.
belong to, yeah.
So let's listen to the overture. And why don't you give us the full titles as we go along here?
Yeah, this one's just simply the overture, and it's titled A Series of Misfortune.
That is like the global title for
For the whole
actually,
album.
in the original artwork, I had that subtitle under the opera.
Yep.
And we ended up changing it.
Because we added it to the overture. So I think
Yeah.
originally it was called the opera Series of Misfortune.
Yeah. All right. Let's listen to the overture.
Thank
Okay.
Sounds
Patrick?
a lot like AC/DC.
It's one of my heaviest records.
And this whole EP works better if you don't have three dicks talking in between each song,
Yeah.
because we intentionally laid it out so they would all flow into each other. And the overture obviously works a lot better when
Flows
you,
right into the beginning song.
when you start hearing the songs and they relate back to it. But it's our job to sit here and talk
Yep.
about these. Anything you want to say about that? It's pretty straightforward.
Pretty straightforward. I recorded it all kind of in one sitting.
Yeah.
It was a simple
Really
simple
does
to do.
set the mood.
And I think
for
it
what-
does. Yeah, it's long. It's a lengthy song. It's the longest one on here, but I think it does set the mood and kind of tease everything up and goes better.
I think you're understating the simple a little bit. I mean, I could do a whole episode on just this track and dissect the four movements that are within it. It's almost too bad the masters are gone, because I could see a lot of interesting arrangement to be done with this. Like in the first movement, I hear like a lot of timpani
Yeah.
and strings, and then the second movement goes to sort of this almost Asian inspired guitar, and that kind of quiets down. And then the third movement, I get this really Wild West kind of spaghetti western buzzy guitar. Then the fourth movement like kind of launches this voyage and totally re-elevates the move, and there's some kind of dangling sense of continuation. It's a really fascinating journey, and I don't think it's simple. I think it's actually really, a better word for it would be elegant, because while there's not that many components, the way it comes together is a really complicated picture of different moods, and it's an overture. It's great, and I love that there's four distinct movements to bring you into an EP.
Yeah. I agree with all that.
I said simple, but it took some time to do. It just, everything was already created. so it was quick.
The songs were
Yeah,
like, so you knew
it was pretty
what
easy
to feed off
to
of.
pull off. But yeah, I think it really does set the tone. And this next one kind of kicks it up a little bit, and it's called The Falling. So this is when the two people meet initially and fall in love.
We're in the story. Let's do it.
Shopping mall, stand in the way of this recession. They're arguing in a state of mind between relaxation and obsession. The overture was written with patience and discretion. The opera is short of breath and filled with too much depression. So I decide to get it, to simmer the blood that began boiling. Stutter in my thinking, stutter in my rewrite the ending on my own.
Yeah, this is a. I love all these songs. This one really delivers the ups and downs at the beginning, and then really gives you some high highs, especially when you like rewrite the ending on my own. Like I get chills from this song a lot. It's always been one of my favorites. I think this era of your songwriting, you had already been a prolific songwriter up to this point, but I think this is when you really started to find your voice. I think this is around the time you got your Korg keyboard and started layering stuff more. Whereas before you were a lot of, guitar, bass, drums, drum machine. Now you started adding more texture to your work. And yeah, I love this. I think it sounds great too. I don't think this really even would benefit from remixing. Like sounds fantastic.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think musically, yeah, it sounds great.
These are when I like first started actually thinking about how songs should be put together. Before it was just I had an idea, I would write a song, and however it went is how the song was. And these ones I started putting forth a little bit of thought on how they should actually lay out and go. Like if I was to write that song today, it wouldn't have like 3 minutes of instrumental outro, but I liked the dynamic because the whole thought process behind that for me was the lyrics don't really tell you that it's about two people falling in love. It's about like you're in a central place and it implies two people met. And sometimes, when you meet somebody and like the flirtatious part of how you meet is arguing and talking about things you don't like. And then eventually you become attracted, and that was supposed to kind of take you on that ride through the rest of the song.
I think it does that really effectively.
And give you a little bit of space to connect it to the next song. It was supposed to give you a little bit of space before sort of the tragedy happened in the story. Did you have any thoughts on it, Patrick? You didn't say much for it.
No, I think you guys have covered it. I don't know if I have anything really meaningful to add. I'd just echo kind of what Wade said. It's interesting to see with both of you just kind of the progression of songwriting, because I agree with Wade that you really come into your own here as far as writing really deep. Like you said, I'm just repeating what Wade said. I'm going to hear about this from his wife.
I think that's an important part of this podcast.
But I think this song is interesting because the beginning, I don't think the lyrics are as developed as modern Brad Maurer songs. But later in the track, they definitely are. So it's almost like a snapshot in transition of you as an artist within one song. But I love the music in this song, and I love how you sing this song. Yeah. It's really rich.
Yeah, I was doing some experimenting in this era for sure. And I think what I was going to say, these flashback episodes are fun because it kind of can show you that history of how we're coming out all the time with brand new songs, and it shows you a little bit of where we came from and how we started, and maybe a little bit of a. But
you still hear where you are now. In the past.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah,
that means I haven't completely abandoned what I sound like.
Just your morals and values.
Yeah, absolutely. But the next one is called The Betrayal. So this is the after,
the falling out.
Yeah, after all of those ups and downs in the first song that were displayed musically instead of lyrically, this is the falling out.
Is this the point in the rom-com where the male character does something totally stupid, and then there's a rainy scene where they make up again?
And then this is him realizing it.
Yeah.
All right, let's give it a listen.
It's called The Betrayal.
Rated R.
Captured his
I love how the vocals come in on this, and I think that there's been many times on this podcast where Patrick has wanted your vocal range to get where it is in this track.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I know you've tried to get Brad like, oh, you need to push it a little farther, and this is a good example of where you can go.
This was probably like the first time I did it.
Yeah.
I remember bringing this song over to Wade's house. He's like, oh, you really changed the vocal style up on that one. He's like, I like that. And I was like, oh, okay. Then that leads you to do it a little bit more.
And I love how the song just takes both sides of the story and speaks to it. And I think I connect to this whole project on a very deep level because at the time you were doing this, I was going through like a life-changing
Big
breakup
deal.
at the time. And Brad, you were like that person, the ear for me at times. And I remember you sitting there with me and just letting me
well,
get it out.
I was also getting it from her.
Yeah.
So that's that's actually kind of what this song's about. It was the derivative at the very least. Is it's just like, there's somebody in the middle of these two, and eventually they're not going to be together anymore for whatever reason.
So you're saying that I basically wrote this for you?
You did. Wade gets all the credit for everything.
No, so I have always connected this project on that level, and it really does speak to me. There are tracks I've literally like cried to tracks on this project before because I was in such an emotional state, and you hit the mark so well on a lot of these songs. All right, I'm done talking. Patrick, what do you got to say?
I'll just touch on the lyrics for the sake of time, but I really like how both tracks we've listened to so far, they're really, really metaphorical is the wrong word. I love that they don't overly broadcast what's going on in the story, but it clearly tells the listener what's going on.
I think they're poignant. That would be the word I would.
Yeah, they're
use.
Quite. Thanks, Wade. Wade, just go ahead and take over because I don't use the word so well today.
We're also giving him credit for your review of the song.
So it's powerful. It's powerful in its lack of exposition, I guess, because something from a storytelling perspective that really turns me off is when there's overt exposition that doesn't need to be there, and it dumbs down the listener and it dilutes the story, and this is the polar opposite of that experience.
Yeah, and I think that was part of the, I guess, subtitles for the track. Is we'll let the idea for the story lie there, and the context is going to be in the songs, and it's not going to be, she cheated on him, he's sad, and country music direct lyrics. I wanted it to be more about the story of the relationship.
Yeah, and I guess without sounding like I don't know, like snobby, that's what I expect from you. when you write lyrics, that's the kind of story I totally expect from you. Is you're going to lead me there emotionally, you're going to lead me there without slapping me in the face with it.
Yeah. I try to do that. I guess I don't try to do that. It's just all I really know how to do, I guess.
It's because you're a good writer.
This next one has zero lyrics.
Can we cut that out?
Well, it's a good thing you commented on the lyrics because you're really going to love this next song.
Well, this is the interlude, so BSers, if anybody has to go to the bathroom or get a refreshment, now would be the time. But you were talking about writing, and this one is called
A Letter.
A Letter. All right, let's jump into it. So like we mentioned before, that was an addition after you had the 4 main songs along with the overture. And I like that it gives the whole EP like a little reset as we move into the second act here.
That is what it is. It's that point in the story where the character's at this desperation level, right? And so they're writing letters, they're doing whatever they got to do, and then it moves into the second phase. A lot of sound effects in that one.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. What's the ambient noise?
I did I literally turned the mic up and scribbled on a piece of paper like I wrote.
I picture like the Big Lebowski of you like
Yeah, so I was writing
on the paper. And
I was writing words. I was
penis.
just doing it with a pencil, so it was loud. And then at one point I crinkled one up and threw it away. And then
so what it? Oh my god, I just totally interrupted you. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. Go ahead.
It's interesting because I get that scratching in parts, and I don't know if I'm just filling it in with my brain, but I hear like a train, like he's sitting on a train, getting away from everything, writing this letter.
There is some movement noise in it. I don't know if I might have had my window open, and this is when I lived in a busy city.
Yeah. You get like
I don't know if it was
cigar,
intentional,
like,
but it was
I had
lighter.
the lighter in the beginning.
Yeah, you totally
it was really visual,
old timey, like sitting down with a cigar and writing
the lack
letter.
of like lyrical content made me really want to like explain this thing in another way, and the sound effect kind of thing was the only way to do it. And then at the end, I just ripped it out of a journal like it was done.
Awesome.
Cool.
Let's move into the second act here. What do we got going, Brad?
Oh, this is Act 3, The Reflection.
This is the one that gets me, right?
Yeah, I think so. So this is there's no going back, but you think about it, and he's realizing that it wasn't all for naught. Tonight, when I think of your name, it turns me away and convinces me wrong. For I was once rumored a saint, a misconception I let on far too long. And now I'm able to feel like me, even though it feels so strange. I can't belong to while always agreeing and never thinking on my own. So instead of becoming great friends who can't avoid crossing that line, I never speak your name again. And you never get to learn mine. And now I'm able to feel like me, even though it feels so strange. I can't belong to anything while always agreeing and never thinking on my
Oh man, I cannot speak to how much I love this song. If I were to allow myself at any time, like let my guard down, this song could always bring a tear to my eye. This thing delivers the feels through the whole song. It's one of my favorite songs that you've ever written. And yeah, there's nothing I can say but that I love it.
I didn't know that, actually. I don't think you've ever said that. So good thing we have this show.
I love you.
Patrick, what did you think of that song?
It's a great song. It's a great song. I wanted to say something sarcastic and call it a turd, but it doesn't fit the mood. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, especially toward the end when you start talking about them just basically separating ways, like
We can't even be friends.
right?
Yeah.
Can't be friends to avoid crossing that line is it's just such a great lyric. It's beautiful.
It's incredibly powerful. Yeah. So I'm not going to say anything sarcastic because it's gorgeous.
Don't ruin this, Patrick.
I've ruined 30 some episodes.
So that was the reflection. So he came to that realization, right, in the story where, okay, it wasn't all bad. Like I got something out of it because now I know who I am. So that leads to this is the appreciation, which is it's
moving on.
That's it. Yeah.
All right, let's get into it.
It was so nice to see you, even though it didn't go anywhere. I'm fortunate to exist near you, close enough to know the smell of your hair everywhere. Safe to say I won't forget you, and I hope you would say the same of me. But time will bring another to you, and I will fade out of your memory eventually. It was so nice to see you, even though it didn't go anywhere. I don't care.
And that's it. I love how this wraps the story up. It's like such a great like ending scene that would be in a movie, like a chance meeting on the street between the two characters years down the road. It's like, oh, hey, how are you doing? Oh, good. Oh, it's like great to see you.
The things
it's
come
like,
flooding back.
And then it's like, yeah, and then it's like, well, I mean, I got to pick up the kids. It's been great to see you. Like they walk their separate ways. Credits roll.
That's it.
It's really great, and it finishes the story off.
I've always loved like the little. I can't think of a good word, but like the chirpy little background vocals, like the
yeah.
And I remember like where they came from is we lived in our old house and I was like fell asleep with the TV on and I woke up to VH1 and it was Neil Young at the Grand Ole Opry and he had like these singers. It was him singing a song and these singers and I woke up to them doing background vocals that were exactly like that and I was like, it's stuck in my subconscious and I loved it so much that I had to figure out a way to incorporate it into something and it fit perfectly in this song.
Yeah, I love how big this song gets. It reminds me a lot of what the Arcade Fire, when they're doing it well, it is what they do well, which is those periods of simplistic single note progressions, then something to big orchestral swells.
Yeah.
And this song does that really, really well. And the mood that sets is a feeling of moving on and you're in a new place and life has been uplifted again, but you're reflecting upon those times with the relationship. And that's kind of the slower, pluckier part of the song. It's good.
Yeah. So that's the opera. I absolutely love this EP. I encourage everyone to send us a message and get a hold of a copy because it should be heard and listen to it in its entirety. It really works really well. You can send us a message at bs@belongingsongs.com or go to our website, belongingsongs.com, fill out the forums page. We'll put pictures of the artwork up on Instagram. I designed the art, and I love how that turned out as well.
Yeah, Wade did this one, and it's a really cool... part of the problem with the way things are today is you don't get cool shit like this. Like you pull it out, and it's a curtain... And it's cool. So we'll put those pictures up because that's a really good part of this whole project too.
Yep. Anything anyone has to say to wrap this episode up on the opera?
Thanks for listening.
All right. Yeah. We will see you here again next week. Wait. If you or anyone you know needs help producing a podcast, that's something that I could do for you. You could go to satellitechicken.com and contact me there. Again, love this project. Get in touch with us. Leave us a review. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you.
If anybody helps moving, say a piano, refrigerator, Brad's your guy. Give him a call.
What? Yeah, okay. Thank you so much. We'll see you again here next week. Bye.
Is important to us. Please stay on the line.
Yeah, it's good. Boom, done. Next.